year is 1607. A child has gone missing from a small English parish. There are no police to search, no telegraph to spread the alarm. His family has nothing but their grief and their faith. So they do what countless others did in those years. They carry their question to an astrologer. It might sound strange to us now, but in those days, when life was precarious and sudden death common, such questions were ordinary. People asked the heavens who had stolen their livestock, who had poisoned their bread, or who had fathered a child. They asked which road was safe to travel, which neighbour to trust, and whether the law would favour them. And when the chart was cast, they believed the answer. No witnesses, no proof, no earthly evidence at all, just the judgment of the skies. In a world without our comforts, when justice was even slower and more uncertain, the stars provided guidance. The study of the stars was once split in two. There was natural astrology, respectful, sober, almost scientific. It governed the tides and the weather, the best time to sow a seed or bleed a patient. People put their faith in it like we do today in the weather forecast. And then there was judicial astrology, the judging of human fate. This was the branch that dared to say who would marry, who would sicken, who would win a war, or who had blood on their hands. It dealt with politics, law, crime, and medicine. And to many it looked less like science and more like sorcery. Within judicial astrology lay two darker crafts: horary astrology, where a chart was cast for the very moment a question was asked, and the stars were made to give their verdict; and electional astrology, which sought the most fortunate hour to act, when to wed, when to fight, or when to hang a man so that the punishment would truly take. For centuries this practice held sway. Courts and kings alike listened to it, but with the Enlightenment, the stars were stripped of their authority. Natural astrology was reborn as astronomy and, to an extent, meteorology, while judicial astrology slid further into disrepute, dismissed as fortune-telling. Today, historians use the old phrase to mean the predictive pre-modern art, the serious branch once called into courts and sick rooms, to pronounce on matters of law and life. Modern astrologers prefer other names: horary, mundane, even forensic. But when we speak of how the stars judged crime and justice in the past, the old title is the truest: judicial astrology. Simon Forman was one of the most infamous astrologer-physicians of Elizabethan London. Born in Wiltshire, he abandoned a career as a schoolmaster and, from the 1580s until his death in 1611, built up a thriving and controversial practice in the city. He was a physician without a license, a self-proclaimed alchemist, magician, and reader of the stars. For that, he was hounded by the Church and the Royal College of Physicians alike, suffering several short spells in prison. But none of this dimmed his popularity. Forman kept diaries, now digitised by the Casebooks Project, which give us a remarkable window into the lives, secrets, and fears of his clients. They are filled with medical cases, gossip, and even the darker affairs of Londoners. One entry from 1595 records the loss of a nobleman's greyhound which had slipped its collar in Water Lane. Other cases are bleaker still. The record of Alice Barton of North Crawley describes how she drowned herself, suspected of having broken her sister's neck beforehand. Murder, suicide, and accidents appear alongside fevers and childbirth, making his books a strange litany of both healing and doom. And Forman was far from alone. Records from the 16th and 17th centuries show the extraordinary reliance people placed on astrologers, not only for matters of health and fortune, but for crime. In the winter of 1569, a stationer named William Bedo tried to trace money stolen from a friend's house in Kent. He was referred to an Oxford astrologer who cast a figure for him, though without success. Most consultations of this kind were less dramatic than murder. Housewives fretted over mislaid crockery or stolen linen. Servants from grand houses came seeking the fate of missing silver. At St John's College, Oxford, in the 1590s, Robert Flood was asked by his tutor to use astrology to discover who had robbed him. In 1637, John Rogers, an apothecary, went straight to an astrologer when a copy of an important book was stolen from his shop. These stories show the peculiar hold of judicial astrology. In an age before detectives, fingerprints, or police, the stars themselves were treated as witnesses. Neighbours and nobles alike placed their faith in horoscopes, believing that theft, betrayal, and even murder could be solved by reading the heavens. If Simon Forman was the shadowy figure of Elizabeth's London, then William Lilly was the great astrologer of the Civil War. He rose to fame in the 1640s and 50s, his almanacs read by tens of thousands, his name known in every tavern and marketplace. Soldiers and statesmen came to him, but so did servants and merchants. He cast horoscopes not just for the fate of individuals, but for missing purses, stolen silver, and even the destiny of whole cities. His casebooks show how ordinary the questions could be, and how strange. In 1647, he was asked to find a plate lost in Gray's Inn, to track £150 vanished from a Spanish merchant ship, to identify a thief who had robbed the public house known as the Cardinal Wolsey, even to trace the fate of £20 stolen from a, quote, fat woman in Southwark. Nothing was too trivial, nothing too sordid for the stars. But it was a prophecy of catastrophe that sealed Lilly's fame and nearly his ruin. In his 1652 almanac, he printed a pair of cryptic hieroglyphs. They showed a city, tormented first by plague, then consumed by fire. Quote, having found the city of London should be sadly afflicted with a great plague, and not long after with an exorbitant fire. I framed these two hieroglyphs, in which effect have proved very true. And prove true they did. In 1665, a plague came, and in 1666, London burned. Lilly's eerie accuracy did not go unnoticed. That year, Parliament summoned him to testify before a special committee appointed to discover the cause of the Great Fire. Had he, by his occult practices, kindled it himself? Could he have called it down? In that tense chamber, he defended himself, helped by his friend and patron, alchemist Elias Ashmole. He explained that he had not caused the fire, merely foreseen it in the heavens. He walked free, but his legend only grew. In 1555, Nostradamus wrote his first collection of centuries, consisting of 100 quatrains. He used his knowledge of judicial astrology to create his prophecies, completing a total of 10 centuries over the years. Written in French with influences from Italian, Greek, and Latin, were full of symbolism and metaphor. This was done to avoid accusations of witchcraft and to allow various interpretations of his work. Supporters claim he predicted events like the Great Fire of London, the French Revolution, the rise of Napoleon and Hitler, both world wars, and the nuclear bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki. However, his writings were used for propaganda during World War II by both Nazi Germany and the Allies. Joseph Goebbels wrote that his friend, Nazi journalist Alfred Ingmar Berndt, had, quote, drawn up a plan demonstrating how we could enlist the aid of the occult in our propaganda. The Americans and English fall easily for that type of thing. On July 1st, 1566, Nostradamus made his last prediction, telling a priest, "You will not find me alive at sunrise." He died that same night. Astrologers in the 16th to 17th centuries often give physical descriptions of culprits rather than names. This could lead to disastrous mistakes. One recorded case is from 1505. A London astrologer described a thief's general appearance and noted him as having bad teeth. Acting on that description, a robbed carrier arrested an innkeeper's son at St. Ives. But when the boy was made to open his mouth, his teeth were found to be perfectly sound, a complete departure from the initial description. The carrier was humiliated and faced a countersuit for wrongful arrest. Simon Forman's own consultations sometimes skirted this problem. He would give clients images of a suspect, a man of such and such age, dark hair, a mole by the eye, rather than naming names. If a neighbour fit the bill, suspicion followed. The danger, of course, was that more than one person might fit the star's description. William Lilly, too, was wary. He wrote that it was dangerous to declare a specific thief unless the chart was very clear, for fear of ruining the innocent, but people pressed him for descriptions anyway. These errors have potential to echo into the present. Modern forensic astrologers occasionally claim to trace missing persons or killers, but law enforcement remains deeply skeptical. Modern courts have never accepted astrology as true evidence, and the caution is well founded. History shows how easily the stars could mislead, sending suspicion against the wrong man or child, with real human costs. In the 17th century, this could mean wrongful arrest or the ruin of a reputation. Today, it would mean the miscarriage of justice on a far greater scale. By the early 1900s, Evangeline Adams had New York society in her thrall. She gained national recognition when she predicted a disaster for the owner of the Windsor Hotel, who ignored her warning. The hotel burned down the next day, leading to widespread media attention and her newfound fame. By 1927, she recognised the stock market's potential and gained immense fame as the market boomed. Popular among investors who, along with Adams herself, profited from her prophecies, her monthly newsletter offered predictions about stock movements based on planetary positions and was marketed as a, quote, guaranteed system to beat Wall Street. For $20 a reading, she predicted the Dow Jones Industrial Trends, and her popularity surged. Despite facing 3 arrests for illegal fortune-telling, she was never convicted. Notably, she was acquitted in a May 1914 trial where a judge praised her abilities, saying she had, quote, raised astrology to the dignity of an exact science. Adams aimed to improve astrology's scientific image by narrating her progress in research. In her autobiography, she noted her commitment to research and emphasized the specific contributions she made to astrological practice. Despite Adams' success, astrology never again quite gained the widespread faith and recognition from the powers that be as her 16th century counterparts. After all, Adams' most infamous incorrect prediction happened shortly before the 1929 crash. When faced with a devastating unknown, a missing child, financial ruin, a health crisis, or romantic devastation, it's not hard to imagine why people are willing to take a leap of faith on someone who can offer that little smidge of insight into the outcome of their query. Today, principled forensic astrologers are careful not to insert themselves into criminal matters and view their practice as a separate and removed exercise in curiosity, charting historic cases and high-profile perpetrators. The wider astrological community is unwilling to encourage the use of astrology in such a delicate realm, aware of the potential harm and the willingness of bad actors to exploit people at their most vulnerable. Astrology remains in the zeitgeist purely for the reassurance it may offer to those who believe, or even those who just desperately want to. We want to know our loved ones are safe and happy. We want the comfort of financial success or the certainty of being loved. But certainty, they say, is the fool's dream, and thus the charlatan's selling point. I hope you have enjoyed what we're calling Astrology August. Part 2 of our astrology episode hit a little bit of a snag for scheduling reasons, but don't fret, it will be coming to you as soon as we can get together and talk it out. In the meantime, I hope you're geared up for September. We have a really exciting collaboration coming up For any of you who listen to folklore podcasts, you may know who it is. Until next time, beware of people promising too much and who claim to know everything.
Thanks for listening, and fuck yeah, folklore. Fuck yeah, folklore.